delegation led by Home Minister Rajnath Singh clearly upset with Pakistan over its treachery on terror. On one hand, Rajnath Singh talked about terrorism. On the other hand, it was Pakistan who was doing the double-speak. On one hand, they said that India was indulging in atrocities in Kashmir Valley, which is clearly being denied by India. On the other hand, they have actually allowed the likes of Syed Salahuddin and Hafiz Saeed to protest against the Indian Home Minister. On return, Rajnath Singh briefs the Prime Minister and will also be briefing the Parliament later on. With camera person Madan Lal, this is Kamaljeet Sandhu in Delhi for India Today.
Even as Pakistan let loose the venom, spouting terror chiefs on the streets and blacked out Rajnath Singh's speech at the SARC meet, the Home Minister delivered a tough message, holding a mirror to Pakistan's dirty designs, and this while on their soil, slamming Pakistan for its double-speak on Burhan Wani and warning against the threat of a terror attack in the SARC region.
स्टेटमेंट इस समय नहीं देना चाहता क्योंकि पार्लियामेंट चल रही है और वहाँ पर जो भी हमारी स्पीच हुई है सबको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट हुई है वहाँ पर।
But as usual, Pakistan played the victim card, citing terror attacks on its soil, raising the Kashmir bogey. Just hours earlier, Jamaat-ud-Dawa chief Hafiz Mohammad Saeed was seen leading a protest at Lahore's Masjid Juhada, threatening to send 17 lakh terrorists into Kashmir.
राजनाथ के दौरे में आप दबाव का शिकार होते हैं या मजबूत खड़े होकर इसको पैगाम देते हैं? अगर आपने ऐसा न किया तो इंशाअल्लाह फिर फैसले इधर होंगे अल्लाह के फजल व करम से.
While India took the first step after the dastardly attacks on the Pathankot airbase on the 2nd of January, it has made it clear to Pakistan that it cannot continue to sponsor terror. Neither can its terror masters be allowed to foment trouble in India. With Kaswar Klasra and Hamza Amir in Islamabad and Kamaljeet Sandhu in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
The crisis continued on 27th day and the situation continues to be getting difficult in the valley. In a lot of rallies that were organized in South Kashmir, a lot of people were seen participating, and in one of the rallies, militants were openly seen addressing the crowd. To those who know Kashmir, this reminds of the times in 1990s, but many are asking questions as to whether this also means complete failure of the governments in handling the situation.
Terrorists openly addressing the valley's young men in Kulgam, milking the unrest in the valley after Hizbul commander Burhan Wani's killing, luring the local young men. Watch these two weapon-wielding Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists as they make a dramatic appearance at a rally held by Jamaat-e-Islami in Kimo area of Kulgam on Wednesday. Identified as Majid Zargar and Tausif Ahmad, the terrorists raised anti-India slogans and sought local support.
Lashkar commander Abu Dujana was recently spotted in a separatist rally in Pulwama. Now two armed Lashkar terrorists appeared in a separatist rally in Kulgam. They not only appeared but even made speeches in public and seeked their support for their cause. This is something concerning and remembers the days of 1990s when militants were openly organizing rallies across Kashmir Valley.
As Pakistani flags and slogans echo in the valley, who is fueling the pro-Pakistan sentiment? Who is fomenting the anti-India hatred? As protest in Kashmir enters the 27th day, the valley continues to simmer. Independent MLA Engineer Rashid was detained outside his home after a scuffle with cops. The MLA was halted as he tried to carry out a protest march chanting anti-India slogans.
The Delhi government has lost a crucial battle at the High Court. The High Court in its order very categorically stated that despite a special status, Delhi continues to be predominantly a union territory, which means the basic powers, the crucial powers of governance lie with the Lieutenant Governor. And the Delhi cabinet cannot take a decision without consulting Lieutenant Governor on matters of key importance like land, law and order and other key issues. What needs to be seen in the coming time is when this battle goes to the apex court, would there be any relief for the Kejriwal government, which essentially has faced a major setback from the Delhi High Court?
This is the biggest blow yet to the Kejriwal government in Delhi. In the tug of war between the centre and the Aam Aadmi Party government, Delhi High Court has decided in favour of the centre, declaring the Lieutenant Governor as the administrative head of the National Capital Territory, making it clear he is not bound to act on the advice of the Council of Ministers.
The court has told them very categorically, in no uncertain terms, that you cannot overstep your jurisdiction. Something which is not within the domain of your legislative competence, something which is not within the domain of your executive competence, ought not to have been tried and ought not to have been implemented.
The High Court cited the Constitution, reminding the Kejriwal government that Delhi is a union territory, making it very clear that policing, law and order remain with the centre. The court also quashed several notifications issued by the Kejriwal government, saying they were illegal as they were issued without the consent of the Lieutenant Governor.
The power is with the LG only, and the notification issued by Delhi government directing the stamp rate to be fixed accordingly, that has been struck down by the division bench.
While the centre and Delhi Lieutenant Governor stand vindicated by the verdict, the Aam Aadmi Party government has decided to challenge the ruling in the Supreme Court.
In these last 1.5 years, all we have tried is to ensure that the Constitution is maintained. It's an exaggeration, I think, that the work of Delhi government really suffered. If you look at 100%, maybe 99% of their files were cleared.
नागरिक होने के नाते, एक संवैधानिक पद पर बैठे होने के नाते, हम अपनी पूरी जिम्मेदारी से माननीय उच्च न्यायालय के, माननीय दिल्ली उच्च न्यायालय के प्रति पूरा सम्मान व्यक्त करते हुए कहते हैं कि हम इस फैसले से असहमत हैं.
The Delhi government is now planning to move the Supreme Court because they believe that the High Court has completely undermined the elected government, and that is what the clarity they would like from the apex court. But till the time the Supreme Court gives a stay or clarity on this matter, now the Delhi government will have to report to Najib Jung, who now is the boss of Delhi.
It's clear that the battle for the capital is not ending anytime soon. This war will manifest itself in other ways, and more mudslinging is expected in the coming days. Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, the Delhi government cut the Kejriwal government to size in its war with the Lieutenant Governor. A similar turf war is developing in the Union Territory, Puducherry. The Chief Minister, V. Narayanaswamy, is clearly upset with the Lieutenant Governor Kiran Bedi's way of functioning. Bedi's maverick method of interacting directly with officials and a social media presence has rattled the government in the Union Territory.
The infamous power struggle in Delhi between the centre and the Aam Aadmi Party government, now playing out with an eerie similarity in tiny Puducherry. Chief Minister V. Narayanaswamy has been read over actions of high-profile Governor Kiran Bedi. The political tussle came to fore after the CM objected to the former IPS officer's style of functioning. Narayanaswamy reportedly served a diktat to top babus to abide by directive of the cabinet. But for the record, it's all bonhomie.
No. Who said that?
And is the relationship between Kiran Bedi and...
No. Yesterday we had dinner together.
Bedi has had an action-packed stint so far, going the extra mile to implement centre's flagship Swachh Bharat drive, offering tickets of Rajnikant's Kabbali to those constructing toilets. Bedi's series of meetings with officials dispersing orders on WhatsApp have also rattled the CM. The simmering differences may now explode into a full-blown confrontation anytime. Bureau Report, India Today.
Prospects of finding any survivors in the Raigad bridge mishap has dimmed a day after the collapse. Around 20 people are still missing after the British-era bridge was washed away in torrential rains. NDRF and Navy rescue teams are racing against the time
and they know that it's going to be a long search operation. Bodies of victims surfaced far off from the disaster site. India Today has obtained exclusive drone images of this mammoth search operation.
A day after a British-era bridge collapsed on the Mumbai-Goa highway in Maharashtra, massive search operations are underway to trace the victims. India Today has exclusive drone visuals of the collapsed bridge. As hopes fade of finding any survivor, more bodies have been recovered by the rescue teams.
गाड़ी नदी में जा रही है, आती तो लाइट उधर बंद हो जाता था। एक बार देखा, दोबारा देखा तो गाड़ी आई, 4 व्हीलर था, तो उसमें आके गिर गया।
Bodies swept away in the swollen Savitri River are being recovered far off from the tragedy site.
At Mahad, as you can see, there are teams of rescue operation. These currently are the Indian Navy officers who are leaving for the spot. They'll sail the river, try to search for some bodies. Around more than 22 people are missing since day before yesterday. They'll try to locate these people.
As the rescue teams battle heavy rains and swollen river, a NDRF boat overturned while the search operation was on. Navy divers and Chetak helicopter of Coast Guard have also been pressed into service. A crane lowered a 300-kilo magnet into the river this morning with the hope of tracing missing vehicles.
The rescue operations are going on. These are the river rafters who are trying to locate the bus and also people who are missing since last 2 days. You can also see on the other raft, this is the metal detector. That's the metal detector through which they are trying to locate steel and other substances.
The Maharashtra government has now ordered a judicial probe into the bridge tragedy. With Mustafa Sheikh and Sahil Joshi in Mahad, Bureau Report, India Today.
It's been more than a day since the Emirates flight from Tirunelveli crash-landed in Dubai. It was nothing less than a miracle for the 300 people on board. The only casualty was a firefighter fighting the blaze. But the terror tales of how passengers escaped death by a whisker are still unraveling. Let's listen in.
A terrifying crash landing of an Emirates flight at the Dubai airport. A miraculous escape for 282 passengers and 18 crew members on board moments before the aircraft burst into flames. Inside the aircraft, it was chaos as hundreds raced against time to save their lives. Terrified passengers could be seen shouting and rushing to reach the exit gate before jumping on to the chutes to reach the ground safely.
Jump! 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 Leave your bags behind! Jump and fly! Jump and fly!
This video, taken moments after the crash, shows a host of Indians scrambling to safety. Terrified mothers carrying their children in their arms, petrified kids following their parents.
We were inside the plane when the cabin, when the smoke was there. Then immediately they evacuated.
This was nothing short of a miracle that one of the scariest air disasters had no passenger casualties. However, one firefighter did lose his life battling the blaze, which engulfed the Boeing 777-300 aircraft. An inquiry has been ordered, but it will take some time before the reasons for this mishap are fully known. Bureau Report, India Today.
of the greatest actors in Hollywood's history, Clint Eastwood has virtually endorsed Donald Trump for the US presidency. The living legend backed the Republican nominee as somebody who is opposed to political correctness. The 86-year-old actor, however, conceded that Donald Trump has spoken many things, some of which can be classified as dumb.
Clint Eastwood has something to say about the upcoming American elections.
He's just saying what's on his mind. I would have to go for Trump.
In his recent interview to a magazine, Clint Eastwood criticized the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton, which, given as he is a Republican, is not surprising. What has, however, caused a kerfuffle are his views on Donald Trump's apparent racist remarks. Remarks that Clint Eastwood does not think are racist at all. In fact, Mr. Eastwood doesn't think that America has ever been racist.
Everybody's walking on eggshells. We see people accusing people of being racist and all kinds of stuff. When I grew up, those things weren't called racist.
And also joked about shooting liberal firebrand Michael Moore after Moore tweeted criticism of Eastwood's film American Sniper. The saving grace, if at all it can be called that, is that Mr. Eastwood has not formally endorsed Donald Trump yet. Ankit Gupta for India Today.